You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
It's about 11 more days to the much talked about rescheduled March 28 presidential election. Many are saying it's a must-watch. If it were to be a movie, it would have been a sold-out movie for Nigerians. Many are talking about this. The international community is also talking about the all eyes of the global community is on Nigeria. The fear of many would be, are we going to experience another rescheduling of this election? Many are tired of the rescheduling, but INEC says that it's been blessing in disguise, recording over 85% of PVCs collected. We hope that all of the outstanding PVCs that INEC is still waiting for to be brought in from China we get in before this time. But many are saying that maybe it would have been a major disaster if that election held February 14, because it showed that INEC probably was not ready. You recall that last 2 weekends thereabout there was a mock accreditation that took place where INEC also tested the functionality of the card readers in selected 12 states of the 6 geopolitical zone. The result was quite of a mixed reaction. Of course, some mixed reactions, no doubt, and then you begin to think as regards what exactly do Nigerians think about that particular exercise. Of course, INEC says it was a success, recording about 59% of the card readers being able to do some biometric examination of the holder. Of course, many are also saying that, of course, use card readers, but why not just forget about the biometric examination if that's going to give us some challenges. But this morning, let's turn our attention to stories making headline on some of Nigerian newspapers. I have the Punch, I have the Nation, the Vanguard, as well as the Guardian newspaper for review this morning. I'm already joined by Olatunboso Ihoso, who's a public affairs analyst, joining us today on Core Digest. Good morning.
Good morning, Ifemi.
Thank you for joining us
today.
Good
morning, viewers at all.
All right, let's start with the Punch newspaper. Bloodbath in Benue. Fulani herdsmen kill 95 women, children, others. Another day you read the paper and it turns your belly. That's on the front page of the Punch newspaper. You get details of that on page 2. The front page picture shows fire guts INEC's Electoral Institute. That's on page 2 of the Punch. Banks cut dollar loans to companies. You get details of that on page 33. 2 policemen caught on video fighting face dismissal. That's on page 7. APC has evidence of Jonathan's interim government plan, says former governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi. You get details of that on page 8 of the Punch. Now let's start with the very terrible news from Benue State. This idea of herdsmen clashing with farmers have been one ugly story that have been told many times in Nigeria. Well, how do you see us bringing an end to this headlong once and for all in this part of the world?
Nigeria has become a theater of ethnic nationalism, ethnic militia, becoming more visible. And I said it's a recurring decimal because for years now, successive governments have not been able to put a permanent end to the activities of these militias and what have you. Now, this Fulani herdsmen, this is not the first time. But each time they go on rampage, each time they carry out invasion, they invade wherever they intend to invade to achieve any dastardly act that they want to achieve. it is always reported in the news. We hear that, government officials will go to the scene of the incident, have first-hand assessment and first-hand information. And then we hear of panel of inquiry, panel of inquiry eventually, carry out this activity or assignment, submit report to government, and then it fizzles out. That has been the trend. So this is not something new to people like us. It comes, we read about it, we hear about it, it is analyzed, it is discussed. Government gives the impression that it is on top of the situation, and then it fizzles out.
There's also been a lot of talk about policy making. Perhaps there has to be certain laws that have to be legislated as regards where the grazing land should be, because the conflict has always been herdsmen, going into farmlands that belong to other people. Do you think that the National Assembly has done enough as regards this?
Now, I don't want to believe that it is the problem of the National Assembly, because the National Assembly, as it were, has been, despite the fact that, of course, some of us believe that in certain areas they have not really done much. These are legislators who most of the time are away from Abuja between Thursday evening and Monday morning. So most of the legislative work they do is between Tuesday and Thursday. But then I want to see this issue as a problem that has to do with the national question. Proponent of sovereign national conference have said that Nigerian people must sit together, all the nationalities in Nigeria, the majority and minority. These Fulani people, these herdsmen we are talking about, they have stake in the community where they are. The state government, the Benue state government, and the government in the middle, the north central, because that is where the activities of these herdsmen, are really concentrated. The state government, they are not really in charge. If you are not in charge of the police force, though they call you the chief executive, but yet you don't have the power to actually direct the commissioner of police to do what he or she has to do, because the commissioner of police is directly responsible to the inspector general of police through the structure or some other superior officers in the Nigerian police, like the AIGs and so on and so forth. So the state governor, who people will always blame, is not in control, does not have any power.
But have we really been able to identify what the challenges are? Because we cohabit as Nigerians. If you come to Lagos, there are Hausa people here, there are Igbo people here, and Nigerians have been able to cohabit. But the challenge of these nomadic herdsmen has been there for long. Have you really been able to identify what the true challenge really is?
They are nomads. They are itinerant. They are always on the move. But I believe really that we cannot really say the people, the combatant, the people that actually carry out these dastardly acts are to blame. They have sponsors. And their sponsors have motives. They have agenda. But the problem is, we don't always get to the root of this problem by actually identifying the sponsors and bringing them to book. The same thing with this this insurgency thing that we have been talking about. There are people, how do they get arms? Do these arms come from heaven? Are these arms invisible? What are the routes by which or through which these arms are channeled or are conveyed or transported? These arms coming through either the southern part of the country or through our neighboring countries. And these neighboring countries have sitting governments. Government that were popularly elected by the people, government that boast or claim to be in charge of the affairs of their respective countries. How did these arms come to them? So what I'm saying is that the sponsors of this Fulani herdsmen, for instance, must be identified.
There have also been allegations that many of them have been found with bows, arrows, even some to the extent
previously.
Guns.
What did we do with those ones?
Whose responsibility?
It is the responsibility of the federal government, because the issue of security, whether that of the military, as it were, and the police, everything's the bus stop on the table of the federal government.
But they say governors are also chief security officers of that
state.
state.
Do they have power over the police? They don't. They don't have that. They don't appoint commissioner of police. The commissioner of police are not, commissioners of police are not accountable to them. They are not responsible to them. They report to the AIG. The governors are just political office holders. They don't have security. They don't have security power. Even unlike the president, who appoints service chiefs, who appoints the inspector general of police, and so on and so forth. But the governors do not have powers to make such appointments. So you just call them the chief security officer, but over who? They don't have powers over the police. They don't have power over the military.
Perhaps, is there a way that farmers can react to this situation?
Farmers?
For instance, you have someone just come in with herds of cattle into your farmland and you feel aggrieved that certain of your crops have been destroyed. Is there a cultural way of solving this problem that we can adopt at this time?
The problem in that region of the country cannot be discussed or treated in isolation, because we also have to look at the relationship between the cultural aspect of the relationship, because it is the cultural aspect of the relationship that dovetail into the economic aspect of the relationship. Because the farmers that we are talking about and these Fulanis herdsmen, the relationship on the surface is basically economic. But what of the cultural aspect? Do they really want to live together? It is the cultural aspect that is a substructure that gives birth to the superstructure, which is the economic relationship. Now, if you look at the related story of the Ife and Modakeke people, now, in those days when we used to have this problem, of cohabitation between them, the Modakeke people and the Ife people, a lot of us were looking at it from the point of view of ego, from the point of view of these people came from somewhere, we have been here, they are tenants, we are landlords. But we didn't really look at the cultural aspect. Whether somebody is a landlord or tenant is not even the issue. Somebody must be a tenant. Somebody must, have been living in a particular place, before some other people come. Just like you have in Lagos, where we have the so-called indigenes and we have the non-indigenes. But then, do they want to live together? The people involved must show commitment to peaceful coexistence before we can begin to talk of, do you want to do trade together? Do you want to do business together? I have a farmland. Can I give it to you? Do you want to? What do you want to use it for? On what terms? What are the terms and conditions, and so on and so forth? Those ones are the superstructure. But the substructure, which is the root, is the cultural aspect, and that is why we said people must come together. We must sit together and discuss whether we want to live together or not. It is after we have agreed, in principle, that we want to live together, then we can begin to talk of the economic relationship, religious, political, and so on and so forth. That is, one of the problems why people continue to clamor for a sovereign national conference. A national conference where people, all ethnic nationalities, will be represented by their genuine representatives. And then we will now iron out issues of coexistence. It is after we have sorted out those issues that we can then begin to talk of what is the framework of government we want to have. What kind of economic relationship, what kind of commodity relationship, what kind of market relationship do you want to have? It is because we have not been able to resolve those basic, fundamental, cultural issues of coexistence. That is why we have problems in the political realm, problems in the economic realm, problems in the religious realm.
Well, another side that probably we might not be looking at is the fact that if nomadic herdsmen can move from one region of the country to another, does it not also, to a large extent, talks about how unified we are as a country in such a way that there are no restrictions between the north and the south?
Yeah, because it is one country. Ordinarily, there should be no restriction. Nigeria is one country. We have the south, we have the north, but further subdivision, gives us the 6 geopolitical zones, 6 geopolitical regions. But what I'm saying in a nutshell is that these artificial boundaries that a lot of people are saying of which I also believe in, is actually responsible for most of the problems of communal problems that we have all over Africa. Let us put aside artificial barriers and boundaries. We, the people that have been forced to live together, if I were to use that word, forced to live together by artificial boundaries that were created by our former colonial masters. We have been forced to live together, even if we did not want to live together before. Now that we are living together, let us still discuss. We have mouth to talk, we have eyes to see, we have ears to hear. It is like forcing people to live together in a house. And the people in that house are always quarreling. They are always quarreling. I mean, nobody is tying down your leg there. Nobody is using any chain to chain you. Why don't you leave? If you don't, you cannot survive in that house. You cannot have a joyful life in that house. You leave. But if you must stay, then there must be terms and conditions with those your co-neighbors. You must agree. I mean, and somebody must midwife it. If not the landlord, maybe the representative of the landlord. But we continue to blame and say that is it not the fact that if not for the situation in the country, why should I be living in this house? But as some people will say. But you have option of living or staying.
Do you see the resolutions of the just concluded national conference probably are offering certain solutions?
I don't. I said it on this program when I was invited that I do not believe in the fact that the so-called national dialogue or national conference is truly representative of the wishes of the Nigerian people. I said it then that majority of those that took part in that conference were not the authentic, genuine representatives of the generality of Nigerian people. And I also said
all of them or some?
Majority of them, they were handpicked. They were not voted for. They were not elected by occupational groups or geographical regions. They were not elected. They were handpicked.
Unlike what the logical expectation to be, there was not much of a reaction from the people to certain.
Many people were not even aware. I also said then that the confab was not very credible. Apart from the fact that it was not very representative, it was not credible, and so it couldn't have been the yardstick with which you measure what the Nigerian people, determine what the Nigerian people are actually yearning for. I said then that even some of the people that we call elders or statesmen, they were there and they are still spent force. People that are not actually known again. People that when you talk about the Nigerian question today and you ask an average man on the street, people, when you mention those people's name, people say, is that man still alive? Is that woman still alive? Where has he been? Where has she been?
It's all right.
These are people that are not correct.
We'll get to details of that later on. Let's move away from the punch and find out what the top stories are today on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Jonathan's 9 billion naira contracts full anti-Jega protests. The writers on the Nation, APC alleges government using massive OPC to halt polls, and PDP says it's not true. On the front page of the Nation, you see in Rins, the INEC Electoral Institute warehouse after the fire yesterday. Fire at INEC's warehouse in Abuja, story on page 5 of the Nation. Kwankwaso North will reply hate campaign on March 28. The Riders Kano State Governor lashes Fayose. Tinubu, Jonathan's dollars can't divide us. We also see an insert here of Asiwaju Tinubu speaking yesterday, listening Kwankwaso and Ladipo Johnson. Two other stories on the front page of the Nation this morning. Ex-House Speaker Naba quits PDP. Violence likely in Lagos, Kaduna River, says NHRC. YCE denies endorsement of president for second term. Jonathan promises more affirmative action for women. Let's start with the fire that got at the INEC Electoral Institute warehouse over the weekend. There's been a lot of fire outbreak in recent times. But are you amazed that for every fire outbreak we had, there's always one sabotage story that is always attached to it? Is it a coincidence or the ongoing political propaganda that is existing in Nigeria?
Well, this latest one, the one that happened over the weekend, to a lot of people, it may look like the handiwork of arsonists. That is, I mean, because election is just few days away. I mean, everything that has to do with INEC, the electoral umpire, must be well secured. Because I believe that this particular institute, electoral institute that we are talking about, should have been properly secured by security agencies. To ward off any real or perceived threats, by arsonists to touch, the institute. That is what. But then, of course, it is also not ruled out that electrical fault. It could be as a result of electrical fault. It could be as a result of negligence on the part of people that are supposed, to service electrical equipment. You never can tell. Maybe somebody has been told or informed that a particular air conditioner is not working properly. Get the electrician to come and repair it, and the person forgot to actually, and that led to it would be as a result of that. But majority of us, a lot of people out there, of course, believe that this will be an act of sabotage because election is around the corner, and there has been so much hues and cries all over the land. There has been so much bickering by the major gladiators, including the electoral umpire itself, concerning its preparedness or not. So that is not ruled out. What we can suggest here is that there should be a high-powered, independent, panel of inquiry that should, be set up to investigate
the good news
the
is
immediate
that
and immediate cause, the immediate and remote cause of the fire incident.
Eyewitness report already gave it that probably it was just some electrical spark or something, and the good news also would be that INEC says that none of the materials destroyed during the fire outbreak was sensitive or was even relevant to the 2015
INEC is playing to the gallery. We are not talking about whether election is going to affect the election or not. Of course, nobody will believe that it should affect the election. But what of the materials that have been damaged there? I mean, these things were procured with
materials were eventually going to be damaged. According to INEC, there were already waste products that were awaiting.
What of the building itself? You have to renovate it.
But what I'm trying to say is that can we believe INEC if it rules out sabotaging?
What INEC has said is that it is not going to affect the exam. Well, of course, it shouldn't affect it. But what of the fact that that building that has been touched, that has been damaged? I mean, this is a building that has been bought. I mean, has been erected or built with taxpayers' money. It's going to be renovated.
Let's open the four lines.
In order to avoid, future occurrence, that is why it should be investigated. Whether it is an act of sabotage or not, we must get to the root of the problem.
Let's open the phone lines and find out what the reaction of viewers are on some of these developing stories. The phone line is on your screen when you call in, and able to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a crystal clear communication. Well, it's about 11 days to go for the election. Do you foresee any reason for further rescheduling or postponement?
One, if there is any further rescheduling of the election, there is going to be a big constitutional crisis. That is one. Big constitutional crisis, because the constitution makes provision for the fact that the election should not be conducted earlier than, not later than 30 days, I think, and not earlier than 150 days. So if the election is rescheduled, whether starting with the presidential election, when are you going to conduct it? When the handing over is supposed to be May 29. So I don't foresee that anybody that is contemplating that is actually, asking for a major constitutional crisis. Then secondly, the mood in the nation. People are not ready to contempt, or you see, it shouldn't just happen again. People are not ready to condone. Many things have been affected by this election. A lot of things have been affected. Businesses have been affected. Government have been affected. People's normal life have been disturbed or distorted or disrupted as a result of the last, rescheduling. So it shouldn't happen again.
Just a minute. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Call Digest. What's your name?
My name is Lyde. I'm calling from Jogi.
Lide from Lagos. Please go ahead with your contribution.
I would like to use this video to advise the government or whichever that is in power that postponing the election could lead to anything. And it's a country that has been built for years. I will now use our selfish interests just to divide the country. Many have been clamoring for the elections and have been waiting. It has been postponed and postponed. Many that are supposed to do some other things, the social life and whatever, postponing and shit. And because of you just want to get the power, you want to remain there, you are now postponing again. This is not called for. I beg whosoever, and you really have to, you have a lot of roles to play in this area. Because you go out there, you tackle them. Let them know the people, how they are feeling. And what, at times in the community, there are some people that are boiling that, no, let's do this thing. By now, we should know the president of the nation. By now. And the good thing is supposed to be that against the government and the next person coming in or the person that is going to be elected or whatever. By now, we should know, okay, what are you doing? Are you continuing with what you have done before or you are bringing a new thing? So God will help us, and March 28 is just nearby. So we don't want any performance again. God bless you.
Lide, do you have your PVC?
Good morning.
Just a minute, Lide, before you go. Do you have your PVC? I'm afraid we lost that call. Well, you were saying that not many people are ready for another postponement. It's beginning to affect the social life.
It has affected and it is still affecting. So the earlier we do this election and put it behind us, the better. But then, on what ground? If anybody is even contemplating that, what will be the reasons? Now, going back to the reasons that were adduced for the last rescheduling, insurgency, insecurity in the critical part of the north.
Maybe now we can add PVCs because
there has been substantial improvement.
Ultimately, we found out that not quite a number, over 30 million people would have been disenfranchised in the elections.
No, don't let us even talk about February 14 again. That is gone. Whether INEC was ready or not is not even an issue. Let us be talking about March 28 now. Now we are talking about. One of the major reasons adduced for the rescheduling. The last rescheduling was insecurity. The Northeast is being, there is relative. But then, I want to say and ask the military high command, dislodging the insurgents, clearing their camps, does it suggest or does it assure us of safety for the inhabitants of those communities where the insurgents were before? Where the insurgents had their camps? Does it mean that those areas are now well secured? Because when the president, was granted an interview to view on view.
Just a minute. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I want to contribute to your program.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Mr. Chukamoken.
Chuk, where are you calling from?
Mr. Chukamoken.
From where?
From Lagos.
Can you turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you clearly?
From Lagos.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Please, I just want to make it fast. Don't bother yourself because what you're going to witness is what will happen spiritually. There will be no election. There will be election. There will be no handover. Jonathan will not take over. Will not rule Nigeria. Buhari will not pass the work. God has decided to divide this country. Mark today's date.
Oh my. I'm afraid the network is not even in
Maybe that
tandem.
man. Maybe the man
in
that last guy was
agreement
the
with
prophet.
what he was saying. But if I heard it clearly, he said, I think he was taking the spiritual that
he was
a
looking at
spiritual
this
position, a prophetic position.
we
That
are
there
our
will
own
be no
analysis
elections and all of that.
our own analysis are not spiritual.
Okay.
We are analyzing based on what we can see and then based on the fact on ground. So whatever arrangement God, as for Nigeria, where we know God is good.
Just a minute. Let's take this one. Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning.
What's your name, brother? Can you turn down the volume of your TV set?
My name is Chidi. I'm calling from Port.
I didn't get your name.
My name is Chidi. I'm calling from Port.
All right, Chidia, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Yeah, so we are talking on the television, this the BBC and everything we're born. Maybe the two parties know about it. Hello?
Go ahead, please. Turn down the volume of your TV set. Just give us a contribution.
Right, I said that the two parties know about it, about everything we're born.
Well, I'm afraid you have to call us back, Chidia. Number one, you're not turning down the volume of your TV set, and I can't really comprehend what exactly you're talking about. But let's quickly, put
No, I was saying something. I said dislodging the camps of the insurgents.
Okay.
Does it mean that those areas where they had their camps before are now well secure for the residents and the locals to come back and begin their life all over again?
But wouldn't that be a land back operation also towards achieving peace in that area?
No, because they are dislodging them. They are dislodging the military is dislodging the Boko Haram elements now. Basically, because we want to have a conducive atmosphere for election. But what I'm saying, even after the election, is there a guarantee that those areas will be well secured? For how long will the military be stationed there? And what are the terms and conditions of our pact with our neighboring countries vis-a-vis this multinational force that has been assembled to crush these insurgents? So are those areas going to be well secured even after the election? Because the president said on VOA that dislodging the insurgents does not necessarily mean that we will not have Boko Haram again, and that the Boko Haram element may resort to bombings and this
suicide missions and all of that.
This scattered bombings here and there. But and he said one other thing, which I want to highlight here. He said that in this week that we are in, that Borno State, Yobe and Adamawa State will be completely rid of the insurgents. But for Borno State, we will need more time. I think he said about 3 weeks. And that 3 weeks will mean a week after the election. The third week, we should be the week after the presidential election. So what was he actually insinuating? Was he insinuating that no state may not be well secured for the presidential election? Because, I would have loved the military high command, the service chief, to have been part of that interview, or for a separate interview, or a parley between the military high command, the representative of the military high command, and the media, for them to ask them now that we are talking, we still have about 12 days to election, that can we say with the level of achievement that have been recorded so far by the military high command and the multinational force against insurgents, is it not now reasonably and relatively peaceful and safe for the elections that we are talking about? Because they are not talking. That is the danger.
Hello, please. I'm on the line before my training finished. I'm calling back.
Okay, please, what's your name? What's your name?
Yeah, before my training, yeah. I'm Mr. Chuka. I'm calling back. Please.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chuka. Okay. From West Bank.
Please go ahead. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, please, I'm contributing before my credit finish. Please, I want you to really pay attention and listen to me. Your guest there said that I'm talking in a spiritual way. The spiritual control the physical. Are you listening to me? Then what I am telling you here now is that Jonathan Buhari is wasting their time and their money. If they have spiritual eyes, they couldn't ask their 1 naira. The God Almighty have decided to divide this country, to separate the wheat from the chaff. God is not a small man, he's not a human being, he's Almighty, the spirit. What is happening in the northeast alone is overdue for God to destroy this country for years. But they are too patient, now he has decided to do it. Let me tell you what is going to happen, sir. What is going to happen is that there will something will happen that will cause crisis. That is what is he has been shown to me. And that thing that will cause crisis is what I don't yet know. When it causes crisis, people will look outside the street, there will be real protection, everywhere there will be no crisis. On the process, military take over power.
This one is bigger than what I can take, you know. There's also...
No, I want to respond quickly to what that... I think notable men and women of God in their New Year prophecies, you know, people that, you know, we always believe.
I think, just a minute, I think Chuke should take the message to the church and just, let the...
None of them has actually told us that, you know, there will not be an election. And none of them has actually told us that there will not be handover or there will not be swearing in on May 29. So I don't know, because, you know, at times like this, all manner of people, all kinds of prophecies are flying in the air. Maybe some people want attention, maybe some people want patronage, and so on and so forth. But our own analysis here is basically on the level of the physical. We are not talking about the mind of God. But like I said earlier on, I don't think God will, you know, God loves Nigeria and God loves Nigerians. So, but our own analysis and our discussion are basically based on what, you know, with the fact on the ground and what we have been able to see, you know, that, you know, the event that are unfolding on the political scene in Nigeria. So we even if there is anything negative that anybody might have seen in the spiritual, we can pray about it and God can change it to positive.
How would you describe the attitude of Nigerians towards this election? Many suggested a voter apathy after the initial postponement. Would you say that this election will record more participation relative to the 2011?
All over the world, there is never near perfect voters' participation in an election. Even in the United States of America, in the last presidential election, the percentage of participation was, I don't think it was even, you know, it was not close to 60. And maybe between 45 and 55% of Americans voted in the last presidential election. Now, in our own case here, I think for this particular election, for this one that we're having, you know, on the 28th and 28th of this month and the 11th of April, there has been so much interest. And the media has actually played a significant role in creating awareness, you know, for this election. And then again, one of the, in most of the campaigns and rallies that the political gladiators, political parties have been having, they have been, you know, drumming it, you know, to the ears of people that have been taking part that they should go and collect their permanent voters card. And so collecting your permanent voters card is telling you that you should vote. There is a revolution in election in voting, you know, pattern, voting history, election history in Nigeria. Now this is the first time that we are using a permanent voters card and a card reader. So a lot of people that were not even interested before, they are now showing interest. What is all this? What is this PVC all about? What is the reader, the card reader all about, and so on and so forth? So I want to say that it is a good development because it has put Nigeria on the world scene. It has, you know, even the rescheduling. The rescheduling has done a lot of good a lot of people, even Nigerians abroad. Nigerians in the diaspora who cannot vote, unlike in the United States of America, where they have absentee votes, absentees vote. People who are not living in America, who are living abroad, they still vote and their vote counts. But unlike our own case, where Nigerians in the diaspora will not be able to. But it has generated so much interest. Look at Buhari's the APC's presidential candidate appearance at Chatham House. You saw Nigerians there, even though from the video that some of us saw, it seems that one of the section of the crowd there was actually hired or rented. From what I saw, by the opposition political party, it's a good development. Nigerians are very interested. We want to, for the first time, we want to do something new, something revolutionary.
You are optimistic that this interest will also translate
it should translate. The drawback may be on the issue of deployment of soldiers or not, because some people don't want to see soldiers. I am telling you, I am a civilian. I am in touch with the field. I'm on the field. I'm in touch with people. I interact with a lot of civilians. I live with them. I do business with them. I discuss with them. I write for them. So I am telling you that majority of people don't want to see soldiers. They have phobia for soldiers because soldiers are ideally meant to fight war. They are supposed to be restricted to the barracks. You only see soldiers on the street when there is a state of emergency, when there is war. And for God's sake, there is no state of emergency in Nigeria today. The only place where there is state of emergency is in Northeast. And the state of emergency has even expired. Some of us are not even looking at that. The last state of emergency, the last one expired, I think in, was it not maybe January or December? I can't remember now. But as I'm talking to you now, there is no state of emergency in the Northeast.
It's all right. We have to wrap up the segment here. Thank you very much, Olatubo Sayosi, for joining us on Call Digest today. It's a pleasure to always have you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
We'll take a break now and we'll be back with more. Keep your calls coming. Don't go away.
It's another beautiful and exciting moment.
Welcome to Political Arena,
the most detailed and incisive political show.
You will see all sorts of politicians, even those who cannot manage their homes. We tell you to let them manage your lives. Look well, shine your eyes.
So stomach infrastructure is a way of life. Even if I cannot do anything, and I continue to help your stomach so that your life will keep on going. Stomach infrastructure is a way of life for me.
I should ask you, what is going right in this country? Is it education? Is it security? Infrastructure? Is it healthcare? What is going right? Absolutely nothing.
We mean to win Lagos. PDP is going to win Lagos in 2015.
INEC has colluded with the presidency, the opposing party, to rig this election from the data to the end.
The 2015 general elections must be the best.
The good, bad, ugly and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News.
Morning, sir.
How are you, Mr. President?
How are you, sir?
How is the campaign?
We must learn to live together as brothers, or perish together as fools. Martin Luther King, Jr.